Previously, Kaguya sacrificed his life while trying to protect 2 girls from a dangerous robber. However, he found himself reincarnated in a magical world as Kane, a noble belonging to a respected family. Kane's memories from his previous life remained intact, making him seem like a genius in his family's eyes. His blessings were further amplified during his baptism ceremony at the age of 5, where the gods bestowed upon him incredible powers and abilities. Despite his family's warnings to keep his exceptional abilities hidden, Kane had a burning desire to become an adventurer. Things continue when Minister Magna handing over the keys and the map to Kane's new mansion. He informs Kane that the king is currently occupied with a meeting, but he was excited to hear about Kane's arrival and insisted on playing reversey with him. It was difficult to dissuade him from it. Kane feels relieved that he'll be able to return home early. However, his relief was short-lived when Eric suddenly appeared and invited him to play. Despite his reluctance, Kane agreed to the game, much to Eric's delight. Soon, more nobles appeared out of nowhere and Kane found himself surrounded, causing him to yell in shock. After making his escape, Kane rushed back to his own mansion, an old and eerie-looking house that seemed to be haunted. He opened the door and was greeted with darkness and silence. Casting a light ball, he made his way to the living room but found it completely empty. Deciding to take matters into his own hands, Kane used his magic spell called All Repair and All Clean to fix up the mansion. Almost immediately, it transformed into what looked like a brand new mansion. Filled with anticipation, Kane enthusiastically set about cleaning and repairing the remaining parts of the house, feeling a sense of satisfaction as he finished. Exhausted, he eventually retired to his bed to rest. Suddenly, he heard Sylvia's voice and swiftly made his way to her location. Sylvia was overjoyed to have been invited and, joined by the other maids, she pledged her unwavering service to Kane. In the midst of their conversation, a new butler named Colin introduced himself. Kane had already heard of him through Sebas, but to his surprise, Colin replied by acknowledging Kane's legendary feats of destroying an orc army and single-handedly decimating an entire forest. Following this exchange, Sylvia urged the maids to begin cleaning the mansion. However, they reported that the mansion was already spotless. Kane confessed that he had used his magic to clean the place, to which Sylvia readily accepted, demonstrating her remarkable adaptability. Colin, more astounded by Sylvia's quick acceptance than by Kane's magical abilities, watched the scene unfold. Sylvia then left to attend to Kane's belongings. Colin reminded him that his brothers, Jin and Alec, would be joining them at Garm's mansion. With this reminder, Kane's thoughts turned to the upcoming reunion with his siblings. As they reunited, Jin congratulated Kane for his newly acquired peerage and mansion, much to Rain's excitement. However, Alec instilled fear in her by warning them about ghosts in the mansion, causing her to seek Kane's protection. Although Kane assured her that there were no ghosts, Rain remained suspicious. Upon Rain's arrival, she was surprised to see the mansion in excellent condition, which confused Garm as he remembered it falling apart. Kane then confessed to using magic to repair and clean the mansion. They embarked on a tour of the mansion and were astounded by its immaculate state, but Garm felt a lack of artistic elements. Garm suggested using monsters as decoration. Kane left to retrieve some, and upon his return, they were greeted by Sylvia's scream. The maids and the butler were terrified by the sight of a red dragon in front of them. Kane panicked and realized he forgot to explain it to them. Garm interrogated Kane, demanding to know why he had a red dragon with him. Kane revealed that he defeated it, much to Garm's disbelief. Garm reminded Kane that red dragons are calamity-level monsters, and even Ranka adventurers can only barely defeat them. Garm, realizing that the monster decoration may be terrifying, explains to Kane that it is valuable and worth 1,000 platinum coins, making it superior to other options. Kane is taken aback by its price. Suddenly, they hear Sarah's scream, prompting Garm and Kane to rush to her. Sarah and Rain inquire about the toilet, expressing their pleasure and excitement about it. Kane proceeds to explain its functionality, and Sarah requests that he install one in their mansion as well. While Garm initially thinks they are exaggerating, he gives it a try and has the same reaction as his wife. He assures Kane that their guests will appreciate it. Mention of guests confuses Kane, prompting Garm to explain the aristocratic rule of hosting a party to showcase their new mansion. However, Kane expresses his dislike for the idea, troubled about what to do. In response, Colin presents Kane with a list of potential invitees, including Corgino. Kane recalls their unpleasant interactions and expresses reluctance to invite him. Nevertheless, Colin emphasizes the importance of including him. Kane then asks about inviting the king, to which Colin explains that only higher-ranking nobles, such as counts and above, can extend an invitation to the king. As Kane receives information about food and other preparations, his concerns deepen. Suddenly, Sylvia suggests that he simply showcase his own personal style of hospitality as a solution. Kane uses his magic to create exquisite glasses for the party, and he tells Sylvia that he plans to gift them to the nobles. Sylvia agrees that the guests will be thrilled, so Kane decides to make more. Meanwhile, the chef prepares a dish following the recipe he received from Kane. Kane asks Sylvia to taste the dish, and she exclaims that it's delicious. He reveals that it's called Hamburg steak and offers her a glass of his homemade sparkling wine. Sylvia finds the drink effervescent and Cain explains that he used magic to add fizz to the regular wine, as he's unable to drink alcohol yet. He asks Sylvia if the bubbles are too strong, and she replies that she needs to taste more to determine that. As they enjoy the food and drinks, they receive an urgent message from the royal capital. The king summons Cain to the castle and expresses his displeasure at not receiving an invitation to his mansion's debut party. He questions why Eric and Magna received invitations, but he didn't. Cain explains that he had planned to give the king the invitation in person, but he hadn't found the right opportunity yet. He then hands the king the invitation, which brings a smile to his face. Cain is grateful that he followed Coran's advice to bring an invitation with him. As the king announced his arrival, he added that his daughter Telestia would be accompanying him to the party. The duke chimed in, mentioning that he too would be bringing Silk with him. Meanwhile, at Cain's house, the maids were taken aback at the news of the king's attendance. Curiosity piqued, they asked Cain for more details. He revealed that Princess Telestia was his fiancée, which left the maids in utter disbelief. To ensure that the guests felt welcomed, Cain entrusted the maids with the task of hospitality. They promised to put in their best effort to make the party a success. Later, at the party, Cain personally greeted all the nobles and escorted them inside. The duke's attention was quickly drawn to the sight of a red-mounted dragon, which he never thought he would see in real life. Silk, overjoyed at the prospect of living in such a splendid place one day, could barely contain her excitement but was quickly interrupted by Eric. As Colin reminded Cain to offer his greetings, he raised his glass to make a toast. The guests sipped on the wine and couldn't help but express their delight at the refreshing taste and the pleasant sensation of the bubbles bursting in their mouths. Graham asked about the drink. Cain revealed that he had used water magic to chill the wine and gifted the fancy glasses to all the attendees as a memento of the occasion. Upon seeing the glass, Eric likened it to a jewelry box, and Cain offered it to him as a souvenir. Eric thanked him and turned to Rain and Silk, who were busy stuffing food into their mouths. Suddenly, the king and his family arrived, and they too were amazed by the glass. The taste of the drink satisfied the king, and he also enjoyed the mysterious taste of the hamburger steak. Telestia also found the food to be delicious. The queen suddenly asked about the toilet and requested that one be installed in the castle. She urged her husband to try it, and he was immediately satisfied. The king and queen then pressured Cain to install one in the mansion. Cain was pleased with the king's compliment on his hospitality, and even more so when he saw the aristocrats applauding. Suddenly, Colin had some news for Cain. However, as soon as Coringo arrived, he insulted Cain and his mansion. Colin wanted to tell them about the dragon and the king, but Cain stopped him. Coringo was terrified when he saw the dragon, but Cain eventually explained it to him. Coringo then proceeded to insult him and other aristocrats, which did not go down well with them as they did not appreciate his arrogant behavior in the presence of the king. In the table, Coringo lounged indifferently as the servants poured him a drink. Despite enjoying it just like everyone else, he pretended to find fault with it. When he sampled the hamburger steak, he continued with his act and claimed it tasted terrible. He went on to haughtily boss Sylvia around, causing annoyance among the nobles and Cain. Colin advised him to bear it calmly. Cain's mind races as he tries to come up with a solution to the Mark's demand. Suddenly, he has an idea and presents the glasses as a gift to the Marks. The Marks expresses his appreciation for the glasses and immediately asks for 100 of them. Cain politely declines, explaining that he intends to gift them to all the attendees. Coringo responds rudely, causing Cain to become wary. Cain uses his search spell to locate the king. As the king approaches, Cain steps aside and the king witnesses the Coringo's tyrannical behavior. The king warns him that he will reconsider future events if the Coringo continues to behave in such a manner. Coringo backtracks and mentions that he was only curious about the glasses and the food. The king advises him to conduct himself in a way that sets an example for the other nobles. Coringo nods in agreement, displaying his understanding, and gracefully takes his leave. As he walks away, Silk playfully teases Cain, implying that he orchestrated the situation. Cain can't help but giggle at the remark. Unbeknownst to them, Eric overhears their conversation and confronts Cain about whether he manipulated them. In a moment of inadvertent honesty, Cain accidentally admits that he took advantage of the situation. To his horror, he realizes that the king was present and had overheard everything. Cain is overwhelmed by a sense of terror as he witnesses the king's anger. As Cain attempts to explain his actions, nerves get the better of him, causing him to unintentionally laugh. Unfortunately, this only serves to further enrage the king. As Cain wandered without a clear destination in mind, fate intervened, and he crossed paths with Dame, the esteemed vice-captain of the knights. After exchanging pleasantries, Cain divulged that Magna, the prime minister, had commissioned him to sell a monstrous beast for its valuable materials. Dame quickly ruminated on a suitable location and led Cain to a nearby warehouse, but Cain remained unconvinced, believing that the space would be insufficient for the task at hand. Dame was taken aback by Cain's misgivings, presuming that the materials extracted from the creature were as valuable as those found in the legendary red dragon. Cain corrected him, revealing that the creature in question was an earth dragon. Despite the clarification, Dame remained shocked by the news, as earth dragons were known to be high-level monsters. Cain added that the beast was also of gargantuan proportions, causing Dame to gasp and immediately search for an open area to conduct their business. As Cain began to release the monsters, Dame's expression was one of utter bewilderment. Finally, when the corpses of the creatures lay before him, he was left speechless. As the monsters lay lifeless before them, Cain implored Dame to take them all. Dame was astounded that Cain had defeated the beasts single-handedly, wondering just who he really was. The question on Dame's mind was so intriguing that he blurted out whether Cain was an apostle of God. Cain visibly flinched at the suggestion but quickly denied it. Sensing Cain's discomfort, Dame decided not to pry, opting instead to take time to assess the monsters. As Cain began to leave, Dame invited him to join their training and meet their commander, who loved to meet strong individuals like him. Pressuring Cain into accepting, Dame led him to the Knights' training grounds, where he introduced Cain to the squad. Cain asked for the commander's whereabouts, and Dame explained that he would appear when the battle began. Cain imagined the commander to be a fearsome creature, but Dame just laughed off his fears. When the mock battle commenced, the knights were initially hesitant as they perceived Cain to be just a kid. However, Dame winked at Cain and urged him to try the mock battle. With a sudden burst of power, Cain's figure vanished, and he charged at the man with lightning speed, instantly shattering his wooden sword. The man surrendered in defeat, stunned by Cain's skill. Despite his victory, Cain tried to leave, but Dame stopped him once again, asking him to engage in a mock battle with all of them. Fast forward to the present, the Imperial Guards were now grouping up to defeat Cain. All of a sudden, Cain heard a woman's voice, causing him to look up. His eyes fell upon a woman, who was jumping towards them. She landed in front of him and immediately scolded the knights for picking on a child. The woman kneeled down, embracing Cain while comforting him. As she hugged him, Cain noticed her pointed elf ears. The woman turned her attention to Dame, scolding him for not stopping the battle. Dame addressed her as the commander and revealed that Cain is the hero who defeated 30 orc and saved the 2 princesses. He introduced Cain as a hero, which surprised the commander. Her expression changed, and a smile appeared on her face. Cain felt confused as the commander's aura turned aggressive. She was thrilled to discover that Cain was strong and drew her sword, challenging him to a duel. Cain felt troubled as he was not prepared for a battle, but the commander didn't see it as a problem and immediately attacked. Before the duel began, Dame requested the commander to introduce herself, but she refused, stating that those who fight with a sword speak with their swords. The knights left, mentioning that the commander has the title of Sword Master, but Cain overheard their conversation. The two of them continued their intense battle, exchanging blows and impressing the onlookers with their skills. The commander, fueled by excitement, maintained a distance from Cain and used magic to boost herself. However, Cain was able to keep up, using the wall to collide his slash with the commander's attack. This continued as they charged toward each other, their attacks colliding with great force. The knights were astonished that Cain was able to match the commander's skill. As the battle continued, Cain cast an enhancement spell, increasing his physical abilities. He then dashed towards the commander with incredible speed, confusing her as he suddenly appeared behind her. She quickly turned to face him but found Cain pointing his sword at her, signaling his victory. The commander's eyes trembled as she made a sudden decision to marry Cain. The knights and Cain were taken aback by the commander's sudden proposal. Cain explained that he was just a 10-year-old boy and didn't even know her name. The commander then introduced herself as Tijuana, a viscount and the daughter of Duke Liebert. She reassured Cain that their age difference wouldn't be an issue since she had a lifespan of 300 years and her appearance would hardly change. Cain thought that she was missing the point and was only boasting about her beauty. Cain sought refuge behind Dime and told Tijuana that he couldn't possibly marry without permission. Tijuana brushed it off and said that obtaining permission wouldn't be a problem. Cain realized that her family and fiancés would definitely disapprove of the marriage. He asked Dime for help, but the latter pretended to be asleep. Tijuana agreed with Cain's concerns but insisted on arranging a meeting with the king. Cain's heart raced with anxiety, fearing that his situation would worsen. But Dime took him away to meet the king, where Garm and Magna were already present. The king seemed perplexed, as he thought he was in the warehouse. Suddenly, Tijuana stood up and announced her intention to marry Cain. The king, Garm, and Magna were all taken aback and demanded an explanation. Cain recounted the entire story, and the king inquired if he had mentioned his fiancés. Cain replied that he had not, as it was not yet public knowledge. Garm confirmed whether Cain knew about Tijuana's position, but Cain stated that he only knew her as the captain of the knights. The king then revealed that Tijuana was a princess from a country that was once a territory of the Esfort kingdom. The country was home to elves whose beauty led to them being kidnapped and enslaved. With the assistance of the first king, Uya, race discrimination in the kingdom was eradicated. The elves' territory became an independent kingdom, and Tijuana became their princess. The king then disclosed to Tijuana that Cain was already engaged to Telstra and Silk. Despair was etched on Tijuana's face, and she trembled with rage. The king believed that she understood the situation, but she only became more determined to marry Cain. This troubled Garm and the king. The king advised Tijuana to write a letter to her father Layson asking for his permission for their marriage. Tijuana agreed and was ready to leave, but she wanted Cain to come with her to the training ground to strengthen their love, so she pulled him along. The king was amazed that Cain had defeated the strongest knight in the country and wondered how he had so much strength. He asked Garm, but he didn't know. Then Diam pointed out that Cain reacted strangely when asked if he was a god apostle. The king found it strange too. Magna suggested showing Cain a mysterious book to try to figure out his extraordinary power. Later, Cain was walking tiredly when Diam called him. He said that Tijuana fights with him every day and she won't stop until he's completely exhausted. As they were conversing, Cain confides that he had gained the prestigious Sword Saint title. Just then, Cain overhears Tijuana's voice and rushes off, but Diane drags him to the king's chamber. Once inside, Cain inquires about the purpose of the meeting. The king urges Magna to present the emperor-level magic book, which he reveals was written by the first king. Cain expresses his desire to read it, and the king grants him permission. As he peruses the tome, Cain stumbles upon some potent magical incantations. Suddenly, the king grows solemn and confesses that no one can decipher the contents of the book. Cain glances at the text and is taken aback by the Japanese characters, realizing that the first king, named Yuuya, was a Japanese man reincarnated in this world. The king demands that Cain reveal his true identity. Although frightened of losing everything, Cain decides to place his trust in them. Garm watches on in silence as Cain pleads with them to keep his secret, as he will have to leave the country if exposed. He admits to having memories of his past life and reveals that he hails from the same country as the first king, known as Japan. This revelation shocks them all, and Cain apologizes for keeping it hidden. Garm then asks if Cain is truly his son, to which Cain affirms that the gods told him so. They are astounded that he has met the gods, and Cain recounts his encounter during his baptism. He adds that he meets all 7 of them whenever he goes to the church. The king is left flabbergasted. Suddenly, Garm requests Cain to show them his status. Cain could no longer keep his status a secret, feeling embarrassed. As they read the contents of the book, they were all astounded to find out that he was the reincarnated of God's chosen, with all his stats at level 10 bestowed by all the gods. The king was rendered speechless and exclaimed that the whole world should bow down to Cain. However, Cain protested against such an idea. Cain then reminisced about his previous life where he was all alone, but now felt blessed with memories of his family, his first battles with monsters, his encounter with Tails, Silk, and the royal family, as well as the honor bestowed upon him by the king. With a sense of satisfaction, Cain thanked Garm for being his father and apologized for keeping his secret. He requested that they treat him the same as before, and the king graciously understood. However, the king suddenly teased Cain about becoming a king himself, a notion that left Cain dumbfounded and others thinking it was inappropriate. In an unexpected turn of events, Tijuana bursts into the room with a letter from her father granting approval for their marriage. As she proudly displays the paper, it becomes clear that it's not just a letter but a bona fide marriage certificate. Tijuana can't help but get swept up in visions of their future together and pulls Cain close. Eric chuckles, reassuring the king that Cain appears to be his usual self. While Cain and Tijuana train outside, the 3 companions share a warm smile. The king cautions them not to reveal Cain's secret to anyone, not even their families. With a heavy heart, the king departs, entrusting Cain with the sacred duty of protecting the kingdom, his loved ones, and all the citizens in their time of need. But even in the midst of training, Cain's immense power proves to be a double-edged sword as he accidentally delivers a powerful blow to Tijuana. Subsequently, Telestia and Silk feel furious with Cain, demanding an explanation on how he ended up with Tijuana. Cain apologizes and explains that he defeated her in battle, after which she asked him to marry her. Despite his explanation, they remain angry. Silk jokes about how many more girls Cain will get engaged to before reaching adulthood, finding the situation amusing. However, Telestia is not pleased and asks Cain to stop accepting any more fiancés. Unexpectedly, Tijuana appears and urges Cain to make love to her, causing Telestia and Silk to misunderstand the situation. Cain tries to explain that it was just a mock battle training, but Tijuana drags Cain away. As Cain delves into the pages of the Imperial Book, he uncovers a shocking revelation. The first king was actually of Japanese origin. According to the book, Yuuya, the first Cain, had met his demise in an accident and was transported to this world in his original form. Cain realizes that their circumstances were not identical. In the midst of his reading, Telestia interrupts him, questioning what he is doing. Assuming he is studying for the academy entrance exam, Telestia and Silk suggest they study together. However, Cain swiftly declines their offer, quickly coming up with an excuse before making a hasty retreat. He believes he has successfully evaded them, but then Tijuana appears, extending an invitation to battle. Cain flees once again, refusing her proposal. Unbeknownst to them, Cain is eagerly awaiting a significant day, his 12th birthday. Donning his new attire, Cain arrives at the guild to officially register as an adventurer. Excitement coursing through him, he enters the guild but accidentally collides with someone. When questioned, Kane explains that he is there to register. The person pats his head affectionately, offering well wishes before disappearing mysteriously. Kane senses a familiar presence but cannot quite place it. Heading towards the receptionist's desk, Kane is handed a form to fill out. Deliberately omitting his noble title, he submits the completed form. Afterward, the receptionist explains the next step. Kane must place a drop of his blood onto a crystal. As he does so, the crystal illuminates, signifying the registration of Kane's mana onto his guild card. As Kane receives his guild card from the receptionist, she mentions that his rank is the lowest, G rank. His gaze lingers on the card, triggering a memory of his former teachers who held D ranks. Just then, the receptionist apologizes for neglecting to introduce herself. Her name is Resha, and she offers Kane both encouraging words and important reminders. However, their conversation is abruptly interrupted by a group of adventurers who belittle Resha for wasting her time with a young child. One man goes as far as to mockingly suggest that Kane should return home to his mother and attempts to kick him, but Kane effortlessly dodges the attack, displaying his agility. The man's companion tries to strike as well, but Kane skillfully evades once again, humiliating them both. Frustrated, the man prepares to draw his sword. Before the situation escalates further, a familiar red-haired adventurer from earlier steps in, instantly recognized by the man as Claude from the Ice Flame party. Claude calmly inquires if the man desires a fight, causing him to hastily retreat. Kane expresses his gratitude to Claude for his timely intervention. Recognizing Kane's prowess in evading the attacks, Claude acknowledges his strength. They sit down together and enjoy their drinks, with Kane opting for juice since he is still a child. Intrigued by Kane's remarkable strength at such a young age, Claude expresses his curiosity. In response, Kane reveals that he received tutelage during his earlier years. Curious about the mention of Ice Flame, Kane inquires further, prompting Claude to explain that it is the name of his adventuring party. He wields a flaming sword while his wife utilizes ice magic in their battles. Realizing the potential benefits, Claude advises Kane to join a party as it allows for more challenging quests and faster ranking up. To exemplify his point, Claude proudly reveals his own gold-ranked guild card, signifying his status as a ranked adventurer. Kane is impressed by the card, but Claude humbly mentions that there is always room for improvement. He even mentions a legendary black card supposedly possessed by the first king, who was known to hold triple ranks. Their conversation is interrupted as Claude is suddenly struck by his wife Lena's arrival. Lena questions why he is indulging in drinks, and Kane takes the opportunity to introduce himself, expressing gratitude for Claude's earlier assistance. Finding Kane adorable, Lena offers her assistance if he encounters any further trouble. However, she promptly drags Claude away, reminding him of their pending quest. Kane turns his attention to the quest board and notices a task involving cargo transportation. Kane believed that the task would be a piece of cake with his item box, but he craved a challenge that involved taking down monsters. He eventually found a quest that required him to defeat an unlimited number of goblins, making it the perfect first mission. However, he unexpectedly encountered Tijuana, and Dayam filled her in on his plan. The duo was on their way to train with the knights, but Tijuana was curious about Kane's intentions. He revealed that he was about to embark on his maiden adventure as an explorer. Unable to resist witnessing her husband's first quest, Tijuana insisted on tagging along and left Dayam in charge of their training. Kane attempted to flee, but Tijuana intercepted him and hauled him away. As they trekked through the forest, Tijuana had a blast dragging Kane along while pondering where the goblins could be lurking. Kane employed his search expertise, and they noticed a man besieged by goblins ahead of them. They hastened to the man's aid, and Kane utilized his magic to heal him. Tijuana leaped into action, effortlessly dispatching the goblins. But more goblins surfaced. Kane utilized his magical powers to augment Tijuana's strength, and she felt as though they were battling as one. They effortlessly defeated the additional goblins, but a colossal goblin emerged. However, thanks to Kane's magic, Tijuana dispatched it with ease, slicing it in two. She began daydreaming about their upcoming wedding, imploring Kane to compliment her, when a pack of green lizards appeared out of nowhere. Kane instructs Tijuana to take the man and flee, assuring her that he can handle the situation alone. With a swift incantation, he casts a blinding light spell, disorienting the enemies, and swiftly follows up with an ice pillar spell. Towering columns of ice erupt from the ground, leaving the man astonished at the spectacle, while Tijuana recognizes it as Kane's signature style. Later, we find Kane's mentors investigating the aftermath of the encounter with the green lizards, only to discover a massive crater in their wake. Returning to the guild, Kane contemplates whether he can submit the defeated green lizards as a quest completion, even though he didn't officially undertake the task. Resha expresses astonishment at this revelation, as green lizard quests are typically reserved for higher-ranked adventurers. Kane proudly reveals that he single-handedly defeated 30 of them. Unable to believe his achievement, Resha rushes to inform the guild chief about what transpired. The chief, introducing himself as Cedric, meets with Kane and acknowledges that the guildmaster is occupied, so he is handling the matter. Initially skeptical, Cedric suspects Kane of attempting to manipulate the system, given his recent registration as an adventurer, and deems it nearly impossible for him to have slain a green lizard. Kane steadfastly asserts his victory, but Cedric regards him with suspicion, perceiving him as a commoner attempting to swindle the guild out of its reward money. In an alarming turn of events, Cedric decides to punish Kane by revoking his guild card, accusing him of cheating and declaring a zero-tolerance policy for such behavior. Kane is struck with panic, realizing that his long-awaited dream of becoming an adventurer may be shattered on his very first day. However, just as Cedric is about to carry out his decision, the guildmaster makes a timely entrance. Cedric proceeds to explain the situation, expressing his disbelief that Kane could have defeated 30 green lizards. However, much to Cedric's astonishment, the guildmaster bursts into laughter, implying that there is much for him to learn. The guildmaster's stance in favor of Kane leaves Cedric bewildered, but his confusion deepens when the guildmaster summons his special guest, none other than Tijuana. Tijuana embraces Kane, referring to him as her husband, causing Resha and Cedric to be taken aback by this revelation. Kane himself wonders why Tijuana is present at the guild, and she proceeds to explain her purpose. She had come to discuss the city's strategies for dealing with goblins and green lizards. The guildmaster reveals that Kane is actually a baron and the heroic figure who saved the princess. Cedric struggles to comprehend this, pointing out that Kane had not mentioned his noble status on his registration form. Kane admits that he deliberately omitted it, as he wished to avoid receiving any preferential treatment. The guildmaster adds that if Kane marries Tijuana, then he will become his brother-in-law, leaving Kane astonished to learn that guildmaster is Tijuana's brother. Cedric humbly begs for forgiveness, while Tijuana suggests that he should be executed for insulting a noble. However, Kane accepts Cedric's apology, cautioning him against making hasty judgments in the future. Filled with excitement, Kane inquires if the guild will accept his green lizards as proof of his achievement. To his surprise, the guildmaster decides to promote him to C rank, acknowledging his impressive feat. However, Tijuana interjects, stating that a mere C rank is insufficient for someone as strong as Kane. She highlights how he even defeated a red dragon at the age of 10. Responding to Tijuana's assertion, the guildmaster revises his decision and elevates Kane with a rank instead. He does mention that Kane will need to subdue some bandits to solidify his new rank. Resha and Cedric find it difficult to believe that Kane is being promoted to such a high rank in just a single day. The guildmaster urges them to handle the necessary paperwork once they leave his office, apologizing for Cedric's earlier behavior. He admits to having initial concerns upon hearing about his sister's engagement, but now trusts Kane to take care of his battle-loving sister, Tijuana. In a realm beyond mortal sight, the gods observe Kane with amusement, witnessing the chaotic ripples he creates. They ponder whether granting him such immense strength was a miscalculation. Zenom voices his opinion, stating that Kane must grow even stronger, revealing the imminent release of a sealed entity named Aaron. Fear grips the gods as they contemplate the consequences of Aaron's liberation. Convinced that Kane requires further empowerment, the gods determine that he must train under a specific master to ascend to the next level. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the girls express their desire to study with Kane once again. However, their conversation is interrupted by the sudden entrance of Tijuana. She playfully mentions her enjoyment of their previous encounter in the forest and suggests a future trip to the beach. The girls realize that Kane had turned them down only to go on a date with Tijuana instead. Expressing their discontent, they insist that Kane takes them on dates as well. Kane, feeling remorseful, can only offer his apologies to the girls. The story continues with Kane waking up in bed, where Sylvia bursts into the room, apologizing for forgetting to wake him up. It dawns on Kane that today is the day of his academy entrance exams. Despite Sylvia's apologies, Kane assures her that he won't be late. Making his way outside, he utilizes a teleportation spell to instantly arrive at the academy. Upon checking in for the exam, he is provided with directions to his designated room. However, as he approaches, he realizes that something is amiss. None of the names on the list seem familiar to him. Puzzled, he wonders if his friends Telestia and Silk are taking the exam in a different room. The examiner enters the room and announces that they have a time limit of 2 hours to complete the test, emphasizing the consequences of cheating, which would result in immediate removal. As the test commences, it primarily focuses on basic math and writing skills, tasks that Kane finds relatively simple due to his knowledge from his previous life. During the test, the examiner notices Kane appearing relaxed, but he confidently states that he has already finished, surprising her since only 30 minutes have passed. Once the written test concludes, the participants are informed that they will proceed to the magic assessment, which fills Kane with excitement. They gather in the courtyard, where the examiner instructs them to unleash their most powerful spell at a designated target. Kane ponders whether it is permissible to unleash his full power, to which the examiner assures him that the area is protected by a defensive barrier, allowing him to utilize any magic he desires. As the scene unfolds, a boy begins chanting and conjures a fireball, but it turns out to be disappointingly weak, much to Kane's surprise. Following suit, another student demonstrates a similar lack of power, leading Kane to realize that this level of magical proficiency is typical for most 12-year-olds. Although he initially planned to unleash his Inferno spell, he quickly reconsiders, understanding the potential danger it poses. When it is finally his turn, Kane conjures a fireball that emits a brilliant blue hue, channeling his energy into a fire bullet spell. However, the spell unexpectedly triggers a massive explosion, causing extensive damage and blasting through the wall. Kane himself is bewildered because he had only utilized a beginner-level spell. The examiner, astonished by the spectacle before her, struggles to believe what she has witnessed. Kane attempts to explain that it was a mere basic spell, but the examiner struggles to comprehend how such a seemingly simple spell could possess such tremendous power. She swiftly directs Kane to proceed with the swordsmanship exam, prompting them to relocate to another section of the academy. Upon arrival, the examiner introduces a special guest, a rank adventurer who will assist in evaluating the candidates. Kane is astonished to see Claude, wondering about his presence. Kane clarifies that he is participating in the entrance exam. Claude expresses his desire to be Kane's opponent, but Kane hesitates to accept. Nevertheless, the examiner insists that Claude, being the highest-ranked adventurer, cannot be declined. The two warriors prepare themselves for combat, and Claude instructs Kane to demonstrate his abilities. Kane believes that Claude, being a ranked, must possess considerable strength. Thus, he activates his boost skill and initiates his attack. The ensuing exchange of blows leaves the onlookers astounded by the speed at which the two combatants move. Impressed by Kane's prowess, Claude acknowledges that Kane is stronger than the other examinees. However, Kane urges Claude to take it easy, reminding him that it is merely a test. Despite this, Claude's excitement leads him to employ his own boost skill, intensifying their movements even further. Nonetheless, their intense fight comes to an abrupt halt as the examiner intervenes, admonishing them for frightening the other candidates. Claude acknowledges that their sparring session got a bit out of hand and suggests that they should go on a quest together in the future. However, Kane is hesitant and uncertain if it's a wise decision. The examiner, having seen enough, concludes the evaluation and instructs Kane to return home and await the results. Kane makes his way back home, where Sylvia anxiously awaits, wondering how he fared in the exam. Kane assures her that everything went well, but Sylvia's excitement prompts her to suggest throwing a celebration. Kane, however, believes it's too early to celebrate, although his growling stomach betrays his hunger. Sylvia rushes off to the palace to prepare some food for him. After a while, Kane finds himself being questioned by the king regarding the extensive damage caused during the exam. Kane explains that he was permitted to use his full power due to the presence of a protective barrier. Despite only employing beginner-level magic instead of his more advanced intermediate and emperor-level magic, the repercussions were still catastrophic. The king expresses surprise at Kane's ability to wield emperor-level magic but warns him against practicing it anywhere, as the consequences on the surroundings would be dire. The king proceeds to inquire about the location of Kane's exam, as Telestia mentioned not seeing him there. Kane explains that he checked in at the south entrance and was directed to his assigned room. Upon hearing this, the king questions the existence of a north and south entrance at the academy, causing Kane to realize his mistake. He accidentally took the exam with the commoners instead of the nobles, who used the north entrance. The Duke chimes in, mentioning that this incident even caused a commotion with the headmaster. In a flashback, the headmaster expresses concern over releasing the results due to a commoner achieving a perfect score on the written exam, causing extensive damage to the training area and engaging in combat on par with a ranked adventurer. However, the Duke laughs upon hearing this, recognizing that it could only be Kane. He instructs the headmaster to release the results without hesitation. At the academy, the results are unveiled, and Kane eagerly searches for his name. Silk calls out to him, announcing that he secured the top spot in the class, with Telestia in second place and herself in third. She playfully teases Kane about the havoc he caused and mentions Telestia's disappointment when she didn't spot him during the exam, making Kane worry that he might be in trouble. Suddenly, Kane catches sight of his sister Rain, who is guiding other students. She rushes over to him, brimming with joy at seeing him. Impressed by his achievement, she wishes him luck for his upcoming speech, explaining that it's a tradition for the top-scoring student to deliver a speech at the entrance ceremony. Kane expresses a wish for Telestia to take on that role instead, but Rain asserts that he doesn't have a choice. Returning home, Kane is met with Sylvia's elation upon learning that he secured the top position. She insists on celebrating and promises to prepare enough food to feed 100 people. Sylvia rushes off, and although Kane considers her enthusiasm excessive, he believes it's a wonderful reason to be happy. On the day of the entrance ceremony, Kane notices his parents in the audience, showing their support. He is accompanied by Estia and Silk, who instantly charm as they find him adorable in his uniform. As the ceremony commences, the male students become envious, wondering who Kane is and feeling jealous that he is seated between the two girls. Meanwhile, the girls find him endearing. When the headmaster calls Kane to deliver his speech, he introduces himself and acknowledges his exam mix-up. However, he expresses his enthusiasm for forging friendships with everyone, hoping for a harmonious and cooperative atmosphere among the students. The crowd erupts in cheers, showing their support and acceptance. Later, the king emerges to congratulate all the students, making special mention of certain unique individuals. Kane senses a subtle warning from the king, leaving him with a sense of caution. As they proceed to their first class, their homeroom teacher, Elka, introduces herself. She encourages them to contemplate their future and choose their desired areas of study. Kane expresses his inclination towards adventuring, but the girls object. Celestia suggests that, as Kane already holds the title of Baron, it would be beneficial for him to gain further knowledge about being a noble. While the Kane becomes agitated, Silk interjects, suggesting that Kane can select multiple courses of study. Kane makes the decision to pursue studies in nobility, adventuring, and magic. Curious about the choices of his classmates, he asks Celestia about her selection of nobility and internal affairs. She reveals her intention to assist him in managing his domain in the future. Silk, on the other hand, decides to focus on nobility and commerce, expressing her desire to be of value to him in the future. As they leave the classroom, the trio contemplates their chosen paths. While walking, Kane notices a group of bullies targeting a girl. Recognizing her as Parma from the item shop due to her distinctive ear, Kane realizes she is being harassed by Habit and his cronies. The bullies taunt Parma, belittling her for being a beast and claiming that she doesn't belong among nobles. Kane intervenes, asserting that nobles and commoners are equals within the school. Habit remains defiant at first, but his demeanor changes when he realizes he is confronting Kane, recalling their previous encounter. Confused by Kane's decision to support a commoner despite his own noble status, Habit's companions question his motives. Kane clarifies that he is merely standing up for his friend. In a desperate attempt to assert his dominance, Habit threatens to report Parma's family to his father, hoping to ruin their lives. However, the arrival of the girls interrupts the confrontation, compelling the boys to kneel and apologize. They quickly retreat, leaving Parma to express her gratitude to Kane for his intervention. However, the girls suddenly become curious about Kane's relationship with Parma, causing him to kneel as they engage in a conversation with her. Feeling a sense of unease, he wonders about their intentions. Eventually, they form an alliance, and just as Kane starts to feel overwhelmed, he hears a mysterious voice urging him to visit the library. Intrigued, Kane decides to explore the library, but as he opens the door, he finds himself transported to another space, a room where he encounters a man who offers him a cup of coffee. Confused and cautious, Kane demands to know the man's identity and questions the presence of coffee in this world. The man reveals that he has been waiting for him, addressing him as Shina Kazuya, his name from his previous life. Assuring Kane that the coffee is not poisoned, he extends the invitation to try it. With hesitation, Kane decides to take a sip, savoring the taste of coffee after a 9-year. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe our channel, aniexplainer.